All right, we can go ahead and get started. Just a disclaimer, this is my first time speaking at DevCon, so if it's really bad, remember that, but if it's really good, this is only my first time speaking at DevCon, so we'll get going with that. So I work for Spikeball. If you haven't heard of it, it is a sport very similar to volleyball, and just knowing what that is will help a little bit, and if you want any of the session materials, it'll be right here. It's a quick one though. So 2-on-2, similar to volleyball, except rather than hitting over net, you hit into a net. There's no boundaries, so once the ball is served, you can move 360 degrees. And then most people play it casually, but some people like myself play it competitively as well. So I work with FileMaker with the company, and I play it as well. And so just to give y'all some context of what it is, I'm just going to show you like a 15-second video right here, because it kind of helps knowing how we use it and what the product actually is. Okay, come on. Okay, I'm just going to copy this. No, it doesn't need sound. Sounds honestly kind of annoying. So 2-on-2, serve the ball onto the net, and then the other team has up to 3 touches to get the ball back on the net. And there are no boundaries, so once the ball is served, they can move 360 degrees around the net. So very similar to 2-on-2 volleyball, except they're hitting it into the net rather than over. And what we do is we sell the product, so the physical set, the Spikeball set. So that's kind of the idea around it. And so a lot of what we use FileMaker for is events, and we use it for some of the stuff in the warehouse as well. And how FileMaker kind of comes into play is back in 2016 when I came on, we were using Google Sheets and Google Docs for a lot of stuff, and I came on and it's extremely overwhelming. Couldn't really report on it, very much a work rut, and the guy who was kind of doing what I manage now wasn't very organized. So needed a solution to kind of fix that and make things a lot more efficient. We would kind of just ping back, like message basically what we needed to send to events, where it needed to go. I would take that and kind of manually input it into a lot of things. And so kind of my first inkling of it was, let's put this into something we can export and then upload into the system. So before I kind of knew APIs, to make it more efficient, I would create exports on Excel of just what we needed to ship or what we needed to take out of inventory, and then I would upload that into what we needed. And so once I discovered APIs, it was even more incredible. So what I'm kind of going to do is go through several of the real life, some of the real life things we actually did and some of the solutions we've created on 5 or 6 different softwares, and kind of show you how much time it saved. So we've plugged it into different systems like Brightpearl, Monday.com, Basecamp, Podium, which is a registration software used for our tournaments, ShipStation, SurveyMonkey, Zaius, and then I recently created a JavaScript web app to which I have it hooked up to our FileMaker database, and it's basically pulling the data from our database and putting it into the browser on this web app. So starting off is Brightpearl. This is the one that's impacted our company the most. So we use this in FileMaker for order imports, inventory allocation, fulfillment, inventory transfers, and what we call a freebie portal. So basically everyone in our company is able to send some like free stuff to people, but not everyone has access to our inventory software. So, and we don't really want them using our like spikeball.com, that's kind of for customers. So basically the freebie portal was created so people on the marketing team or sales team, not on the ops team, could send out free product without having full access to our inventory system. So basically it's a front-end application via FileMaker to access that. So using this with Brightpearl, the API has allowed us to save, as you can see, 390 hours a year. We don't have to do the uploads or the exports and then uploads. We literally, what used to take 45 minutes now takes 45 seconds. And inventory transfers, we don't do this a whole lot of time, but when we do them, it would probably take 10 minutes and the way they have their software built, their API allows us to do things a lot faster than their actual user interface, which doesn't make any sense to me, but their API is a lot easier, so we can set it up to where now inventory transfers take 30 seconds when it takes 10 minutes generally. So I'm just going to have a video here to kind of just show what the freebie portal does. So basically with it, you open it up, you're putting in your name, where you're shipping it to, and this is when they log into the system, this is what it comes up on. So for instance, this is me. they won't have access to any of the menus up top, but I do since I'm admin. Put that in, and then click on it, and then you're going to choose what product you want. Put that on the order, and then scroll down. Whoops, sorry. I blocked it. There's a submit button down there. It's being blocked right now, but basically you click that, and that's where the magic happens. So it's connecting with the API, taking everything I put in that order, the shipping address, the email address, putting it all in. A few seconds it loads, transfers the data to Brightpearl, and then it will feed back and let me know that it was in the system. And on top of that, I have it check the order, and then it tells me it's all fulfilled. So I did it again. So not only is it putting the order in, but also it's going back and letting me know that everything worked out as it should have, the order was fulfilled. And so when someone puts it in, they can know that their order is going to go out. And then as you can see here in the system, once we refresh it, there it is, the order's in the system. And so that's a similar thing to the other orders we put in, but that's how the freebie portal works, and that one's been huge for us. Another one of the softwares is ShipStation. So ShipStation is a similar application to Brightpearl, and this is what we use to ship everything out. So the reason, we have a connection between Brightpearl and ShipStation, but that's kind of for our inventory. For a lot of our events, we're sending out equipment. So we send sets, we send branded flags, branded tints to different tournaments and trade shows. And so we don't necessarily want those things running through Brightpearl because it's not inventory we manage. And so we have that in ShipStation. And so there's some things where we upload an order to ShipStation, we upload an order to Brightpearl. And so with this, it saved us about 2 hours a week, and then shipment expense retrieval. Whenever we do it now in Brightpearl, on the event, I keep track of the expenses we have. And so for shipping, once I send it out, it keeps track of what the ShipStation order number is in ShipStation. And I just click a button, and it can retrieve what it cost us to ship that and adds it automatically to our expenses within FileMaker. So instead of having to go into ShipStation, see what the order is, see how much it costs, and then go back to FileMaker and enter it in manually, I can just click a button and it uploads it in. So this one is going to be very similar. Start out here, and then we go into ShipStation. So a pending order. So the way it works is they submit them, they put in the shipping address, I get the notification, and then right now I'm just kind of a second check to make sure all the equipment looks good. Click into it. There it is. Select which warehouse I want. So we have a few warehouses that we can send from and send to. This is just notification. Found out multiple times when you ship somewhere, UPS is closed on Sunday. So if you ship on Sunday and need to pick it up on Sunday, or if you ship and need to pick it up on Sunday, you're not in good shape because they're closed. So sometimes I'll have to ship with FedEx for that. But click ship right there, and automatically lets us know it was shipped, and it's awaiting shipment. And then if we go in here to ShipStation, you can see it uploaded. So Brightpearl and ShipStation are like the biggest two time savers for us right there with the APIs. So the next, Red Podium, and this one is one that I'm most excited about. So we host tournaments, and with those tournaments, everyone registers online. And with that, there's a lot of sports applicable stuff with that. So we keep track of players' points, what tournaments they've played in, how they've finished. And before we would take those results, we would put them onto Google Sheets. We would put in those calculations, and then we'd have to kind of do a lot of updating manually to make sure those numbers and the calculations stayed correct. So now with FileMaker connecting to Red Podium, every week before a tournament, we download all of the registrations off Red Podium into FileMaker. This automatically has us print pool sheets. So basically, before they play in a tournament, they play in groups. And so we print out those groups via, we have a layout that kind of creates those sheets automatically, as opposed to before they would, again, go into Google Docs, figure out which teams were in which pools, put all those teams down, number them. And I mean, that was a multi-hour process, especially for big tournaments. But now it does it automatically based on what pool they're in. They click print, and it does it. And all of that is able to come from them being in FileMaker. And so then from there, we also connect those FileMaker registration records with the team this person's on, their player record. And then in it, we have how these players have done, who are the top players in the country, what are the top teams in the country. And there's so many applications that come from being able to do this and just pull it straight from it. And so here's kind of how it works, and I'll fast forward the middle of it. The data gets parsed out in a lot of different ways because we're storing it. So basically all we do is we take the ID number for the tournament, we paste it into this field, and this is kind of the event page, and we go to the tournament manager. So you can see here team list, and we download the teams. And this is the process. I'm going to fast forward through a little bit, but basically it goes here and it's downloading all of the registrations off the website. And then once it's in, registration complete. Now it parses out by division, and so then we can see all the advanced teams, intermediate teams. I don't know if y'all can see that. But basically we have the different divisions up there. Pulls in and they're automatically separated. And from there we're able to do it. And even right here you see these two have little numbers under it. Some are in a special division where they have like an ID that allows them to keep track of their stats, like the top level players. So that's automatically comes in and automatically parses to the record from that API. So a lot of power and able to get that off of Red Podium into our system. And then next one's SurveyMonkey. So this one's a pretty simple one, and we actually use this one in tandem with a software called Integromat. It's similar to Zapier. So basically the way this one works is we have a college scene where kids are starting clubs, they're playing in tournaments, and they're competing. And so we actually have a system where they can sign up, they register, they put up their roster, and then they actually submit their verification of enrollment through that. And that's a different API, but they submit their verification for enrollment and it shows up in a different system for us. But with SurveyMonkey, when they're applying, they put it in, and then I get an email that they registered, and once they do that, it goes into FileMaker. It checks to see if that school has been created, if that player has been created, and if the school and player created, it just emails me saying, hey, they submitted this. If one of them was created, it emails me saying, hey, a new school was created or a new player record was created. So before, I had to check and go in, check, and see if someone new registered, and then I would go into FileMaker, I'd manually create the record, manually create the player record, and then associate them. Now all I have to do is make sure everything was correct, make sure there weren't any typos or anything. And this one's pretty simple as well. So here's our list. Oops, keep doing that. Here's our list. And then we go to SurveyMonkey, and they enter all the information. Sounds good. And then they submit that. And then we come in here and refresh it. And then there it is. It shows up, and you see the email show up. So we have it built in with the mail client so that it emails us letting us know. And so that one's a pretty simple one, easy one, and we use a system called Integromat to do that. And then Zapier, this one didn't necessarily save us loads of time per year, but more frustration. So we used to use MailChimp to do our email list and everything, but it didn't necessarily have all the consumer information that we wanted, so we wanted to switch to a service called Zaius. And so the issue with Zaius that no one really thought of because it didn't affect most of what we did was that they don't have like a point of sale kind of email entry form. MailChimp has one innately on it natively, but Zaius doesn't. And thankfully, we didn't really have to dig in to find a replacement because all we did was we used the Zaius API to connect that with a layout on FileMaker to where we can open up FileMaker Go, we pull up this layout, and it has a username and an email address. So when we're at a trade show, we just open up the iPad, FileMaker Go, put out this layout, and then people can just enter in, and using the Zaius API, they just click a button and it automatically uploads it to the mailing list. And we also create the mailing list from it. So we start out, literally just create a button, create the list. So it creates that in our back end on Zaius. And then it'll show it up here. So we have it up there. That was just created. And then when we go to here, enter the name, enter email, submit it. Thanks for submitting, clears the fields, and then it takes a while for it to load on Zaius's end. So go to the end here, refresh it, and then scroll down, and there it is, and it shows up. So that one, it doesn't necessarily save us a ton of time per year, but just the frustration of looking for the right software to do the right thing, we didn't have to search for that because immediately I was like, oh shoot, like we don't have this anymore on Zaius. we can create this natively with FileMaker. And so it allowed us to skip the hassle of looking for something else. So overall, through all of these, that's 596 hours saved per year, 25 full work days, 25 full days, 74 and a half full work days, 15 work weeks. And then we're continually connecting new systems all the time. Monday.com, Basecamp, a JavaScript app. These are just a few of the things that I didn't have on here that we connected as well. And if you do have any questions, I'm happy to kind of show how we do that. And even any of these integrations, if you want me to kind of dive in how we did them even more and show you some of the scripting and stuff behind it, I'm happy to. But we're also creating like an inventory flow tracking system, so where we can kind of see where our inventory is at, what it's going to look like in a few months, and then starting to build that into FileMaker as well. So that's kind of my goal, is to trick everyone into using FileMaker for one small thing, and then next thing they know, they're using it for everything. So it's working great so far. But yeah, so that's kind of how we've used it. And like I said, if y'all have any questions, y'all can come up here and ask me. I'm happy to answer anything you have. So that's how we're using FileMaker.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, if y'all have any questions, I can answer them out here, or you can come up here, either way.
The obvious is most of it's JSON going back and forth?
Yes, it's JSON coming back and forth. Yeah, I do have XML for one thing, and I use Integromat. It has an XML parser, and so I think I have that run through Integromat first, and it parses XML, and then I have that send into FileMaker just because that's easier and what I knew. So I'm using insert from URL via script steps, yes. Yep.
With SurveyMonkey, do you get responses as soon as someone finishes the survey, or do you collect them in batches, or at the end of the day?
As soon as someone finishes, it shoots straight to it. So, and that one, again, uses Integromat. So because SurveyMonkey has what's called webhooks, so Integromat uses those natively. You don't have to know anything about it. But the minute they submit it, I get that email. Yeah, so I'm using it as I'm using it as form collection, but it could be used as it's a post-event survey as well. So it's pretty much similar to a post-event survey type thing. We're just using it more as an application, but pretty much same application for either. Thanks.
Does Google have an API that you can use for form gathering?
Google Form, I haven't looked into Google Form. I just like SurveyMonkey more. I know Google's Calendar has one. So I'm sure Google Form does have one. I honestly haven't looked into Google's API too much for Google Forms. They do. Okay, it would make sense that they would. I just haven't used that much just because I like the way SurveyMonkey works. But Google has APIs for pretty much everything. So. All right. Yeah. Thank you all.